Hi everybody, welcome to Shop Talk Live. My name is Chris Roehl. I'm the product manager for the Millermatic products at Miller Electric. And tonight we're going to be talking about our new Millermatic 355. We're going to talk about the 355, the new features that it has, and talk about the market it's going to address, talk about how these features will make them more profitable, more productive. We're also going to talk about how it compares to the old 350p that it's replacing, and also answer any questions that you may have about, basic MIG or pulse MIG capabilities that this machine has. With me tonight, I also have a regional training instructor, Lucas Johnson, who's going to be helping us out with some live weld demonstrations. And also behind the scenes, I have James, who's running the chat. So how this works is if you have any questions for me regarding any features about the machine or anything about the processes this machine has, please put them into the chat. As we're going through it, James will be answering questions as we go through, and also if there's some questions that he wants to provide to me, he'll also will stop throughout the session to answer some of those questions live on the screen. So with that, let's get started talking about our new Millermatic 355. So what is the Millermatic 355? So the Millermatic 355 is an all-in-one MIG welding machine. You can see here there's different options that we have. It's going to be a machine by itself. You can get a machine on a running gear. It comes with all the MIG guns, the regulators, ground clamp, everything that you need to MIG weld with. When you were signing up for this 355 session, we asked you what are some of the questions that you had. A lot of you guys were asking about what process does it have. So I think this would be a good introduction to talk about some of the Miller naming processes that we have here at Miller Electric. So this is what we call a Millermatic 355. What Millermatic means, it means it's an all-in-one MIG welding machine. So back in 1971, Miller came out with the first all-in-one MIG machine called the Millermatic 35. What we mean by all-in-one MIG means the welding machine, the wire feeder, the spool of wire, the bottle rack to hold the bottle of gas in the back is all included in one system. So this is just a MIG welding machine. So it can do your conventional short circuit, globular, spray, or pulse MIG capabilities. We also have another product called a Multimatic machine. Now, a Multimatic stands for multi-process. So that machine is all-in-one. It can do MIG, stick welding, and TIG welding. So as far as this machine, it's called the Millermatic 355. You can see that it's just an all-in-one MIG welding machine. Some of the other questions that you had asked when you signed up for this session was, what is the input power, what it is rated at. So here's just a quick spec. This is pulled from our spec sheet. This machine can work off a single phase, three-phase, 208, 240, 460, 575 input power. And as far as amperage range, you can see it can weld up to 400 amps. All right, so here's a quick comparison. A lot of people said, how does this compare to our 350p? So you can see here, when we designed the 355, pretty much all the key features that the 350p had are going to be carried into this machine also. So you can see 4-drive roll system is very important, and we'll go into a little bit more detail about the importance of a 4-drive roll system. The ability to use a standard MIG gun, a spool gun, or a push-pull gun is also going to be incorporated into your Millermatic 355. Multiple MIG capabilities that we're going to be reviewing, but also you'll see here there's some added features into this machine that, going out and talking to 350p users, we asked them, what can you do to make this machine better? And some of these features here is the feedback that we got from the customers. And as you can see, there's a long list there. We're not going to go through all of them today, but we will highlight a couple of them during the course of the session tonight. If you have any questions about any more of these features in specific, put them into the chat and we'll be able to answer those for you. All right, so what we want to talk about as far as the machines, as far as the 350p, this is a machine that I always say it can grow with you. A lot of times when people buying 350p, It's a lot of times it's their first welding machine they're buying because they want to buy a machine that's going to have the capability to do, MIG, pulse MIG, aluminum steel. But also it's a machine that a lot of these guys will start out in a shop that only has single phase power. But as they, go and grow, they'll move into a larger building and it has the three-phase capabilities. So this is a machine that, is definitely key that you can go and grow with this machine. So some of the key features, customer needs that this machine has and this machine can address is basically ease of use. We're looking for a machine that's easy to use. One of the things that we hear a lot is, the labor force in welding is getting smaller. We're having a lack of skilled labor. So what I'm going to do now is go over to the front of the machine and show you some of these features that we have. So the first one I want to talk about is our AutoSet feature. Right up here, AutoSet. What this is it's like making it very simple for people to go and set up and use. So what you do is when you select AutoSet, you simply come over here and select what type of material and gas you're using and move the cursors here on the left-hand side. You can go select whatever process and gas you're using. So I have it just set up for mild steel with a 9010 CO2 gas. Over here now you select whatever wire diameter you're using. We're using 035. And then you come over here and you can select whatever material thickness you're welding. So as you can see, as you're changing that material thickness, your voltage and wire feed is changing. So, this is what we recommend from the factory. But everybody welds a little bit different. So what AutoSet also has the capability of fine-tuning these settings. So if you didn't really like 19.5 volts, you can increase it or you can decrease it. But the nice thing about AutoSet is if you have your voltage at maximum and your wire feed speed at minimum, you're still going to be in a good welding condition. You're not going to get into a situation where you're going to have bad welds. If you want to go to a different material thickness, just simply push the button. As you can see, all these parameters will change. So that's what AutoSet is. This is a nice feature for new welders who are just getting into it. It's nice for a supervisor to say, if you got a new part, just go and select this material gas, wire diameter, select this material thickness for this part, and now the supervisor knows that he's going to be in a good welding condition. Now for the more experienced welder who doesn't want to use AutoSet, we can take it out of AutoSet and now you're going to be in a manual mode. So once you'll see that, now you got voltage and wire feed speed. So, but a customer is always wondering, you know what, I like that AutoSet to determine a good starting spot, but where can I go to get a new starting spot? Now some of the older machines used to have a parameter chart that was listed on the inside of the wire drive compartment. What we've done on the 355 is made it electronic parameter chart. So right here, if you push the electronic parameter chart, you can see you can come in here if you want to select your wire and gas. You push this button, now you'll be able to go and rotate or select whatever wire gas you want to use. You load that in, come over, select your material thickness, hit load, and now you're going to have a starting spot to start with. So you can see for that 1/8 inch material, 17.6 volts at 284 inches a minute. So now this is a good starting spot. So if the welder wants to go and adjust these parameters, they can do whatever they want. Also, this machine has advanced features. If you want to go in here, the setup screen, you can scroll down and there's other options that you can go in here and set. So if you want to put some pre-flow or post-flow in, you can come in here and optimize your weld settings. Once you get that information that you like, you'll see we put some pre-flow in it. That's a good indication to the operator that they have it. We also have an arc control button over here, which also allows you to optimize your arc as far as wave shaping, as far as the type of parameter that you're using. So once you go in and make all these changes, all the advanced people, to increase productivity, you can actually go and save this program. So we have a button here called program. You push that button. Now, just like on a car radio, you have an opportunity to save 4 canned programs. So what I'm going to show you how to do that is come over here to program 4, push and hold this button. It says program 4 is saved. So you can see now that we have saved that program. So it's simply, if you have different programs here, you just go in here, select them, and you'll be able to start welding. So now what we're going to do is Lucas is going to help us do a live weld demo here for us. And what we're going to show you how this program mode works. So The nice thing about it is if you're welding, you have these programs in here. If you're welding program 1, you get done, you want to go to program 2, you have to come back to the machine, push the button to select program 2. Now what happens with the new Millermatic 355, we have a feature called Trigger Program Select. So all Lucas has to do now is just tap the trigger to go to whatever program he wants to weld at, and the machine will change it. So you see you tapped it once to go to program 1, program twice to program 2, 3 times, you'll go to program 4 or 3, and back to 1. So what we have done here is this machine has the versatility to use short arc, spray, and pulse. So what we have done is we set program 1 up for a short arc weld, program 2 is going to be a spray, and then program 3 will be a pulse MIG process. So as you'll see here, Lucas will, he's in program 1, he's going to make a short. Remember, whenever you weld, you want to make sure you wear your proper headgear, your weld coat, your helmet, and also follow all the directions that you have in your owner's manual to make sure that you're welding in a safe condition. So right now we're in program 1. So that's what that's a short arc weld. Now next he's going to tap the trigger 2 times. He's going to go to program 2. Now this is going to be a spray transfer. A spray transfer is typically used for thicker gauge material for making sure that okay. Okay, tap it 3 times. He's going to go to pulse process. Now this is going to be a process that is used for steel, stainless steels, and also aluminum. All right. So there you have it. So machine's very easy to use for the novice welders. We have AutoSet. You just set it up. You can select your material, gas, wire diameter, material thickness. You're ready to go. For the more experienced welder, you can take it out of AutoSet. That gives the operator the capability to set his voltage and wire feed speed wherever you'd like it to be, and also to optimize or customize their settings. And then the other one is we have our program mode, so that way to increase your productivity, you can save your favorite programs and simply either coming back to the machine and pushing the button to go to your different weldments, or using our trigger program select, you'll be able to change those programs right out there at the welding arc. All right. Right, so that's a quick review, introduction of the Miller machine as far as ease of use and some welding. James, do we have any questions out in the chat? Are these available immediately? Yes, this machine is in the process of what we're calling pre-order. We're taking orders for these. As far as having them in inventory right now, there is a waiting list for that. But right now we're looking at probably a month as far as a delivery for those types of products. The price on this machine, if we sell it in 3 different weight packages, the most popular is the machine on a running gear, like that first picture that James showed. The price on that is $7,300. The machine only is around $6,900, and then we also offer a machine with a push-pull capabilities at $9,900. The Millermatic differences between the Millermatic 355 and the 255. The 255 is a machine that is single phase only, where this machine has single phase and three phase capabilities. This machine also is rated at 310 amps at a 60% duty cycle, where the Millermatic 255 is rated at 230 amps at 60% duty cycle. A little bit too, we'll talk about the drive assembly. The 255 has a 2-drive roll system in it, where the 355 has a 4-drive roll system in it for larger diameter wires, higher travel speeds. Next question is, do you need a different gun for aluminum? We'll just hold that thought. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Very good. All right, good. All right, so the next thing we want to talk about is, that's a good segue. Do you need a different gun for aluminum? What kind of welds a variety of materials, different thicknesses, again, to increase your productivity. So what I'm just going to go over here, just quickly show you the different programs that we have in here for this. And what I'll use is our AutoSet screen, because these are all the different programs that we have. So starting way over here on the left-hand side, you can see we have some self-shielded flux core where you don't require any gas. We have self-shielded flux core with some gas shielded flux core. Then we have some stainless with a helium trimix. Currently, right now, there is a helium shortage, so we also have a program for stainless steel with the argon CO2 mix. We have a mild steel 9010, mild steel 7525, mild steel with 100% CO2, silicon bronze, metal core. Then we also have some 4000 series aluminum programs and 5000 series aluminum programs. So that, when you're in the regular conventional short circuit or spray transfer, those are the options that we have. If we come up here to pulse, the options, you can see there's not going to be as many. We're going to have the 4000, 5000 aluminum. We're going to have silicon bronze. We're going to have the 2 stainless steel options, and then also a 9010 gas mixture. So again, as far as those are the different alloys that we have here. The other feature that we talked about before during Lucas's demonstration, the pulse MIG. This machine is very simple to switch from conventional MIG to pulse MIG. Again, pulse MIG, the advantage of pulse MIG is typically something that you found on higher industrial products. But pulse MIG, what that does is that actually helps out with reduces heat input into the part, less warping and distortion. Also, people who are welding aluminum, if they're not TIG welding aluminum, they're looking for more manufacturing, for more speed. Pulse MIG also helps them out welding aluminum, because you are putting less heat input into the part, and you can weld thinner gauge materials with pulse MIG versus a conventional spray transfer. So pulse MIG has a lot of features and advantages over conventional MIG, and it's a very, very popular feature for this machine. All right. The other question before, Lucas was welding with a conventional MIG gun, what other gun options are available? So what we have is other guns. This machine is available. The first one I want to talk about is a spool gun. This is compatible with a spool gun. The reason it's called a spool gun is because a 4-inch spool of wire goes on the inside of it, and this operator simply pulls the trigger and you can start welding. The nice feature about having a spool gun hooked up to this machine is the spool gun and the MIG gun can be hooked up at the same time. So if you have a fabrication shop where you want to quickly switch between MIG and aluminum, or steel and aluminum, you can have steel in your machine, you can have aluminum in here, simply pull the trigger to automatically switch guns and go back to the parameter that you're welding with last. All right. So this is an option that you can use steel, stainless, any kind of wire in here, but spool guns are primarily used for welding aluminum. The other optional gun that we have is a push-pull gun. Now, a push-pull gun, you can see inside here there is a motor, And what happens is instead of having a aluminum spool of wire in the gun, there's putting an aluminum spool inside the machine. So what happens is the motor inside there is pushing and this motor is pulling, thus the name push-pull gun. So the nice thing about pushing aluminum through this gun is you're more productive. So, aluminum spool of wire is typically 16 pounds, so you're doing more welding, less time changing your spool of wire here. The other nice thing about a push-pull gun is it's lighter. I mean, the ergonomics. You're not always carrying around that larger spool of wire as we're going on. So a lot of people always say, well, can't I just use a standard MIG gun to feed aluminum? My answer is always, what's your tolerance of pain? And the reason being is the analogy I have is pushing aluminum through a MIG gun is like pushing a wet noodle through a straw. Aluminum wire is very soft, and trying to push aluminum through a 10-foot gun or a 12-foot gun or a 15-foot gun, you have to do a lot of things right to be successful at it. Obviously you want to have the alloy that is stiffer, like a 5000 series wire is better. A larger diameter wire is more helpful, and having your gun as straight as possible. A lot of times people also use a different liner, like a plastic or a Teflon liner that people will put into the MIG guns. So that can you do it? Yes, you can, but that's a good solution. A better solution would be a spool gun, because now you're pushing this aluminum wire instead of pushing it 10 feet through a gun. Instead, you're pushing it 10 inches through a spool gun. So your chances of having birds nesting or feeding issues is less with a spool gun, and you're going to have a better successful weld with a spool gun. And then the best solution is a push-pull gun, because these two motors are working in synchronization. You got the spool of wire in there, so you're spending more time welding than you are changing wires back and forth. So yeah, those are definitely all good questions. All right. Yep. Yeah, as far as this machine, the nice thing about these power supplies are inverter power supplies, and they will work off an inverter or a generator. But because of the machine being a rated output, the Bobcat, I believe, is at a 12 kW. This machine would actually need, at full potential, need around a generator at 1900 watts. So would it be able to work off of a Bobcat? It would be able to work on it, but you're not going to get the rated output that this machine has to deliver. Adjustable hot start on the aluminum, yes, this machine will have an adjustable pulse hot start. What they mean by hot start is because aluminum is typically a very large heat sink. So when you feed the wire out, right away the beginning of the welds are cold. So what a hot start is, or adjustable hot start is, when the wire first comes out, you can give it more power, more to burn into the material and get those two base materials fused together. Then once it gets started, that hot start will then ramp down to your typical wire feed speed. This machine does not have profile pulse. What profile pulse is a feature that's in more advanced machines. And what happens is, as you're just going along and making a straight stringer weld with a constant wire feed speed, travel speed, I should say, with your gun, what happens is it'll give you that stacked dime look, similar to what you get when you're TIG welding. With your electrode and your filler material, you always get that stacked dime look. But that's what profile pulse is on our products. This machine does not have it. However, if you would want to get that look or whatever, what happens, there's a technique you can use is just move along and stop, stop, stop. And what that will do is give you that stacked dime appearance. Have what? AutoLink. Yeah, next question is, does it have AutoLink? It does not. There is a switch inside the wire drive compartment that we'll get to in a little bit that will make it very easy to switch back and forth to. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. All right. All right. So then, moving on, another good segue into this next section. This machine can weld in a different variety of weld environments. Okay. like I said, it can grow with you. It can be in a smaller machine shop that has single phase power, but as you go and grow, now you're moving into an industrial park with three phase power. This machine will also be able to, grow with you and still be able to use it in these types of locations. This machine, as you could see it on the cart or that first slide that James provided, we offer the machine is a smaller inverter power supply. It weighs 99 pounds. So if you do have a job inside the shop and you have to take it out into the field, this machine, it's very easy to disengage from your cart and put into your vehicle, take it to your job site, hook it up to single phase power, hook it up to three phase power, potentially hook it up to a generator, and to be able to make the welds out into the field. So with that, let's go over and take a look at some of these features on the inside. All right, so first starting off, he asked about auto link, I think is what he asked. This machine doesn't have auto link in it, but instead what we do is we have an input voltage selector switch. So in here you can see we have it set up for 208. If you have it to the left, it's 208, 240. If you take the switch and rotate it to the right, it's 465.75. And the reason we did that is, typically a lot of these machines are used in the factory or into the shop. And usually when they hook up the power, it's like a one and done. They'll take it, they'll link it up to 240 power, and then they're pretty much done because that's all their shop has. So instead of having the auto link or auto line technology in it, we've gone with the rotary switch. And other people always are worried about having a switch like this is what happens if I have the machine linked for 240, but I plug it into 460. This machine has circuitry in it to prevent failure. So if you would have a situation with that, you turn the machine on, the display will come up and it'll say improper voltage connected and will shut down right away, giving you indication that voltage is incorrect and shuts it down before the machine does have some issues. So that's a real nice feature there. On the old 350p, in order to change your input voltage, you had to take the side panel off. And that was very dangerous because you had all the power electronics in there, and we didn't want to have people there. So what we did is we took it, put it inside the enclosure, so that way it's very safe for the operators to change it around. The next thing, another nice feature that a lot of people like about this is our industrial 4-drive roll system. This is the same 4-drive roll system that is used on the industrial feeders. And the nice thing about it is if you have to change this inlet guide or the intermediate guide, there's no heart or tools needed. You just simply push this button and you'll be able to move this inlet guide and change it around. So if you're switching between steel and aluminum, we highly recommend changing these inlet guides and intermediate guides to like a plastic or a Teflon intermediate guide that is available, to purchase for these types of machines. The other thing about the 4-drive roll system, where it's nice, it's more industrial versus upgrade from the Millermatic 255, and because a 4-drive roll system gives you more traction, gives you better feeding for wires. What we're finding out, people in a 350 amp class, a lot of these guys are using larger diameter wires. 045 is a very common wire for these people, and they're welding at a very high wire feed speed. So at a high wire feed speed, large diameter, you need a lot of grip or a lot of traction on that wire to feed it out and give you good consistent wire feeding. Another thing that we've noticed is this machine will come with a 15-foot gun, but we noticed that a lot of the people using these machines are using 20-foot guns, 25-foot guns on these machines. So having a 4-drive roll system will also help assist feeding that wire that extra length to get it out into the handle of the gun and give you good quality welds. Hooking up inside here, we got a couple connections. If you're hooking up a MIG gun, you got a 4-pin connector right here. That's for your MIG gun. If you're going to be hooking up a spool gun or a push-pull gun, our 10-pin connector right here is what we use to hook those two guns up. All right. And that's the nice thing about this machine. Like I said, it weighs 99 pounds. It's not light, but it's still very portable and easier to move around compared to the Millermatic 350p, which weighed 181 pounds. All right, any more questions, James? Okay, no, as far as the change on the fly, like some of the industrial machines, no, this one you physically have to stop welding, let go of the trigger, re-trigger the gun, go to the other program, and keep moving from there. What wire diameters for this? This machine will run down to 023 wire, 030, 035. We have programs for. We also have an 052 metal core program in here. And for aluminum, we have 035 and 047 or 364 aluminum. Pardon? And 045 steel, yes. I'm sorry, yes. So on steel, we're going from 023 up to 045 on the steel applications, yes. Yep. All right, real good. Just another thing that I want to point out, in the past on all Millermatic machines, you'd open up the side door and there'd be a parameter chart in there. Well, we've removed that and now we have the electronic parameter chart on the front of the machine. But instead now we have this quick reference guide on the inside. So as far as if you want to use AutoSet or the manual mode, pulse MIG, pulses or parameter chart, program mode, there's a quick little setup guide on how to hook that up. And also, you can't see it here, but this is a little QR code. If you scan that with your phone, it'll actually show you a little 1-minute video on setting the machine up using these processes. So it's a nice quick reference. If you don't use the machine or switch the processes a lot, snap those QR codes and you'll be good to go. That's a good question. As far as push-pull guns for this machine, these are the push-pull guns that are compatible with a 350P are also compatible with this machine. So as far as the guns like this, these are the gooseneck guns. There's an Illuma Pro Light, or the Illuma Pro gun is compatible with it. We also have what we call a pistol grip push-pull gun. It doesn't have the canister here, but it looks just like this, and that's called the Pistol Pro. And this machine is also compatible with the MK Python gun that is very popular out in the industry for welding aluminum. The USB port, another good question. What we have on here is the USB. It's multi-purpose. A couple things you can use it for is down the road if we ever have software upgrades to this machine, as far as updating the software or maybe coming up with a different wire gas combination. You can either go to millerwelds.com, download the software, put it on a USB stick, take it, put it into here, and you'll be able to download or I should say upload the new software into the machine. There is also another capability that it has, that if you put a USB in there, there is a way to gather arc information. So if you are looking to quote a brand new project, you can go in there and zero out all the timers, and then you can go and make your welds. You can see how many arc starts, how long you were welding for. You won't be able to see it on the front panel. However, you'll be able to download that information to a USB stick, hook it into your computer, download it into an Excel spreadsheet, and then you'll be able to get a little work information on this new project. And then the other neat feature that this has, not really for the end user, but this is more for the sales team or the distributor salesman, and if you want to go through these menus of AutoSet and Pulse and all these different buttons here, typically you'd have to take this and plug it into wall power, all right? A lot of times you have to do that in a noisy weld shop, but what we have is a little kit where it's a little USB-A to USB cord, either with a 115 volt adapter, or if you have one of those portable battery packs, you can take it, plug in here with that cord, and what it will do is it will power your display up so that way you can actually teach or train people on how to use this machine with actually having to go out to the weld shop where it's noisy and hard to hear. So, yep, good question, good question. Water-cooled push-pull guns, does this one have it? You could use a water-cooled push-pull gun, but in order to do that, you would have to get an external radiator cooler for that. There is no package for that. And the other thing that, typically in those situations, you have to plug that cooler into 115 volts into the wall. So, this machine would be able to work, be compatible with it, but you'd have to do some type of integration with a water-cooled push-pull gun, and also integrate a cooler into a system to make it all work together. As far as Pulse Meg Inconel, there's no program in there. So as of right now, I would say as far as doing Inconel, those types of alloys, going to a Delta Weld or some of the more industrial products would be better suited for that. All right. All right. Is there any questions? Other thing, Meg, Pulse Meg. I went over that quickly. Like I said, it's very beneficial for welding thin gauge material. There's less warping, less distortion in the part. It's very good for aluminum. When you're welding with Pulse Mig, one thing that is very obvious is you'll hear audible noise or audible buzzing like bumblebees. And what's happening is the amperage is actually pulsing from a high amperage where the wire's transferring across the arc to a low amperage where the puddle's allowed to cool and solidify, but it doesn't go out. This is happening, 100 times a second. That's what gives you that audible range. So the other nice thing about pulse MIG welding is it's what they call synergic. So what I mean by synergic is once you go in there and you set your wire feed speed that you like, there's another variable. It's not voltage, it's called arc length. And what that does is that adjusts how far the wire is burning away from your work. And once you get that set to where you like it, now to weld thin gauge material to thick gauge material, all you have to do is change your wire feed speed. So again, covered it at a higher level, but I just wanted to bring that up since we had some time. As far as the electronics, Miller has been using inverter technology for many, many years. The Millermatic 350P was released in 2004. That product is still going strong. We know customers who have, the original machine they bought back in 2004. XMT technology is also, inverter-based technology that's been around many, many years. So as far as, the longevity of it, it's very proven, it's very dependable. As far as end of life, Miller's, basically we're looking to support a product, at least at a minimum of 7 years after the product has been discontinued. All good questions. Thank you. Another good question, very good question. So the 350P, like I said, came out in 2004, and technology has changed. So that was what they called a CC pulse, where you're pulsing amperage, high amperage, low amperage, high amperage, low amperage. But what would happen is you would see that if you had tried having a real tight arc length, you'd get a lot of spatter or arc outages. Well, this machine now has, it's like a hybrid process between CC and CV. So what happens is, the primary pulsing is amperage, or it's high amperage, low amperage, but we're also, the weld engineers have the capability of setting a minimum voltage. So what happens is when you have a minimum voltage, you're going to be able to have tighter arc lengths. So this one is a lot stabler than the older 350P. It sounds a little bit different, a little bit easier on the ears, but it's definitely can have a tighter arc length than you could have over the older ones. Anything else? Duty cycle on this machine is 310 amps at 60% duty cycle. Like I said, the Millermatic 255 is 230 amps at a 60% duty cycle. The old 350P was 300 amps at 60% duty cycle, so you can see it's got a little bit more than what the old 350P had. Yes, it can. I think it was back in 2017, Ford went to the F-150, and what happened is the 350P, we changed some programs in there to be able to weld to some thinner gauge materials. This machine also has the capability of going to that thin gauge aluminum that Ford is speccing and some of these other automotive manufacturers are going to. Like I said, talking about automotive, aluminum is it, but also a lot of vehicles are going to high-strength steels. The requirements to repair high-strength steels is using silicon bronze. That's why the 355 also has a silicon bronze pulse program in it, for making those types of repairs also. All right. Anything else? All right, everybody, again, thank you for taking time this evening to spend with us learning about our new 355. If you, as far as this will be out on YouTube, so if you want to watch it again or learn more about it, definitely you can do that. Also, it's on our millerwelds.com website. You can go there and learn more information about that also. Also, I want to tell you that next Wednesday night, we're going to be doing another episode of our Shop Talk Live Aluminum series. This process is going to, that episode will be talking about advanced MIG welding, which again is going to talk about pulse welding and go a little bit more in depth into that information. So if you're interested, please sign up and attend. That's next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Central Time. All right. If we don't have any other questions, again, thank you and have a good evening.